Well, welcome again. Let's continue to talk on where we have left. I have told you that in the at the equilibrium point, actually, you have some uh, employers who cannot find job and some workers who are not able to find employment. And I told you that some employers complain always whenever you have an economic crisis in a country. I mean, it happens every. I mean, at least I experienced firsthand from in Turkey and United States. Um, you hear that, and whenever there's high rate of unemployment, poverty going on, you hear some people telling that people are saying there is so much unemployment, but actually, I, as an employer, am not able to find workers. What kind of an unemployment is this? That first, that means, I mean, they cannot find workers at the wage they want. I mean, they can always increase the wage, and at some point, some people will be attracted probably, but they think as an employers probably, I mean, a certain wage is fair or something they can give, and they cannot find workers at that wage, and they complain about that. But the second thing is, uh, probably either conditions of their job is very, very bad. I mean, it might be that bad that even at the desperation, people might not want to um, get work under these conditions. I don't know. I mean, um, to what kind of conditions people can endure can very much change with the let's say uh, character of the society and living standards, moral values, or uh, other accepted rights, at least accepted minimum level of comfort or security society. Except, for example, would you work would you clean, uh, let's say, um, pipes which are square so you can stand on them that are 10-meter high without any protective equipment, which might be wide, 1 meter wide, for example. With a wrong move, you can just fall from them, and without wrong move, you might still fall from them if the pipe is not assembled right or has rotten or something like that. So there's a continuous danger of life. Would you do that? Uh, that's one of the story. I mean, one of my instructors. I was actually working in a depot and as a high school student, and did not want much money anyway. So it was a cheap labor force. But when the owner told work go up and clean those pipes, he refused it and he just quit. But there was a Mexican immigrant worker who was at the same age, high school age. He has gone and worked up and cleaned the pipes. I mean, outside, of course, not inside of the pipe. For that, you need to disassemble it. So the main point is the conditions of the jobs might be not that good. The place where you work might not be a pleasant place for one reason or the other. Or the skills you look might be not matching the skills that are available in the market. So the job you offer is so bad in some way, or has such a high standard that even in those conditions of high unemployment, relative misery in the society, no one wants to work in your job. That's something on your job, not on the necessarily labor market. Of course, we might still analyze the labor market, but I mean, if we see the labor market conditions are bad and every data is pointing that out, and a job is not filled, that primarily will probably tell us on the characteristic of the job. Alternatively, of course, also it might be possible that job doesn't make the sufficient advertisements, or I mean, it might be possible that people don't know that job is available. At least the people who are suitable for that job for one reason or the other. Um, Alternatively, also the people who look for a job and people who look for a worker, they might need some time to find each other. I mean, for a while they continue looking for best possible option, and that period itself might be reason why there might be some unemployed people and some vacant jobs, basically. But note that if both of these reasonings, if the existing unemployment at the equilibrium point comes from these potential reasons, mismatch, and the time the workers and the employers need to find each other. In that case, the number of workers who are looking for a job and number of jobs that are available should be equal. I mean, they should be equal to each other. Just they are not matched yet. That should be the case. In job search chapter, we will look basically whether these two quantities are really equal to each other. The other point, which is like accepted in the for the equilibrium point, is even though we have an equilibrium wage, actually we don't have an equilibrium wage, which means actually the wage level in the economic system is widely different. I mean, there is not a standard wage. There is a minimum wage, and many people are paid that minimum wage, but there is no standard wage. And market doesn't converge mostly to a certain level of wage. Sometimes the unskilled labor market might converge, but even there, I mean, there might be differences. Of course, I mean, when it comes to that point, the explanation, well, there could be two, in Marxian economics, I'm also talking on these wage differences. There could be two explanations. One explanation might be there could be certain type of sectors in the economy which or jobs or occupations to which it is difficult to go into. So there could be some mobility restrictions, and those mobility restrictions might be very well for the true for certain segments of the society. Certainly, if someone works, some migrant workers in nowadays even developing countries like Turkey work in the country without proper documents and without proper type of certification. If that's the case, of course, I mean, in that case, certain jobs are certainly those people are locked in certain sectors. Even within the unskilled jobs, they cannot necessarily go to different certain jobs that require unskilled people, and they give relatively high wage. So wage differences can basically be there because of barriers of entry in certain sectors for different reasons. In some cases, also you might need connections to get a job. Alternatively, well, usually the job might have some kind of difficulty, need for a skill, displeasant characteristic. So the differences, at least in, of course, in the neoclassical sense, when everything is perfect in the ideal form of the market, and it's not ideal form of the market, but at least initially, in some people might immediately imagine this ideal form of the market is already there. It's not necessarily there. But if this ideal form of market exists, or were to exist, in that case, I mean, of course, in that case, no barrier of entry. Education is a pure choice. I mean, I might just look to my skill level and decide to choose to go to university or not. Nothing to do with my wealth level. I mean, poor people's children might decide to go to university, but millionaires, children of the millionaire people, might just decide not to go to university and work as a, for example, construction worker. In that case, I mean, in that case, this intergenerational dynamics won't be important, except maybe preferences might be shaped by the families. In that case, I mean, the reason why some wages are paying more will originate from the characteristics of the jobs, and some characteristics which might actually lead to wage differentials are, well, difficulty, risky, and unpleasant conditions. Risks might be, um, it might be, for example, first, it might be costly to train for the job. That cost might be in terms of money, that cost might be in terms of the effort you might need to spend without getting any return at first. It might be because the job might need higher degree of trust. In that case, of course, the question will be, why this high degree of trust is felt to certain people but not other people. But in that case, of course, you pay more than the average because you want that person become more afraid of losing job. Probably, that might be the reason. But alternative reason might be you might try hard to find someone who you need to trust. And that trust might be recognized by certain skills of the people, and that skills or characteristics, if they are rare, in that case, you might compensate for these characteristics of the people. I don't know how you can recognize someone is trustworthy as a employer, but there might be skills. If a job is seasonal job, actually it should pay more. Also, usually seasonal farm workers are paid less, not more, basically. But basically, they're compared with the skills, other characteristics, you might say, they are paid more. They are really less skilled than the typical, even unskilled workers, and that's why they are paid less. Actually, the fact that the job is seasonal, you will remain unemployed at a part of the year, will increase the wage. It should not decrease the wage. At the very least, you need to find another job at the end of the reason, even if you don't stay unemployed. If the job provides less opportunity to get higher wages in future, if the promotion options are not that much wide, the initial payments should be higher. This also doesn't happen always, usually, and there's an explanation, of course, for it. Basically, the jobs that lead you to the path of promotion are usually the jobs where you need skills, but considering the skill level, those jobs pay initially less than unskilled jobs. Sorry, at initial level, those skills don't pay off according to this view. We will look basically also the promotion case in future chapters. Another possibility might be well, we have covered all of them actually. Risk, I will say, the risk of death, the risk of well, another actual possibility which I haven't mentioned here is actually if a job has possibility of getting really high wage in the future, but a small possibility like being a superstar singer, for example, or soccer player. Some people might be okay with low wage initially and forever even, because at least in future, at one time they hope to get this superstar being paid a lot. So that's also a case, the possibility, opportunity of getting high wages. In this case, by being famous. So these are the ways the wage differences between the jobs are explained. These type of wage differences are called compensating wage differentials, compensating differences between the jobs, basically. Now, when we are talking a labor market, a full labor market, which we can call it as a single labor market, should have full mobility in terms of short-term mobility and long-term mobility. Short-term mobility also means long-term mobility. We will talk more on this in the next part. See you in the next part.